Riverside. Hey there, welcome to Vehicle City Sound. This is Volume 2, Episode number 37, our air date. It's Halloween, Thursday, October 31st, 2024. I am your host, C. Willie. I am joined again this week by the lovely and talented... She still hasn't kicked me out of the house. I'm feeling pretty fortunate about that. And we have our special guest tonight, Second Hand Mojo, Vern Springer is joining us. Welcome to the show, Vern.
Oh, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, we're excited about this, and we'll talk about this as we go through this. But you've got a tie who's also important to the show. Mark Speck from Sweet Crystal is tickling the ivories for you in the band.
Yep. Mark and I actually also played in David Winans' group as well, and that's how we know each other. And when we were filling out the members for Second Hand Mojo, I mentioned I needed a keyboard player for this new project. He came down, and he's been with us ever since.
Fantastic. Great guy. What a musical history in the city of Detroit, too.
Yeah.
As you guys have. Now, the band, as you had mentioned, has been together a few years now.
Yep.
But you're feeling like you've got it rounded out and where you want it to be. How did everything come about for Second Hand Mojo?
So Scott Brokaw and I were in a different band that kind of ran its course. And we were doing a similar style to the things that we did on the first EP, which is kind of, blues, classic rock, a little southerny, right? That kind of stuff, which is my influences. And when that ran its course, we had talked for a few minutes, and you regroup a little bit, and I still wanted to keep going. We came to an agreement that was the plan, and so we started really just looking for players. I still had a bunch of tunes already written, and so we had a place to start. So we weren't starting completely from scratch. Chuck came to us. I think it was either through Craigslist or Bandmix or something like that. He answered an ad, and we had gone through singers. We had auditioned a ton of singers at that point, and that's a tough gig for somebody to come in and do, is audition for guys that've been together for a while or whatnot. But we had Chuck come in, and geez, I want to say it was 10 or 15 people prior to that, right? And just it wasn't quite what we were looking for. And when Chuck came in, he was the only one that was really totally prepared, right? He had studied the stuff we sent him. He came in ready to actually contribute right away. What we did was the other songs, I may have had some ideas for words and lyric prior to that, but when the guy has to sing them, you kind of want him to have his input, and so that way it's more natural. And so we let him run with it. He came in, he immediately had melodies and some phonetic sound outs and some words. So he had studied and done his stuff, and he was a great guy. Mm-hmm. So he was a quick hit right away. He actually, not just the prepared stuff, but we even started working on some other stuff that I had just to see how it would go. And one of the lines he put in there, it's actually still in the song, is he pulled out "Shimmy, Shimmy, Shake," and I'm like, well, you got to take a guy like that, right?
I'll take that seriously.
Yeah, there's some rules. You don't follow a guy with a theremin, right? And if you say "Shimmy, Shimmy, Shake," you're in the band. It's just one of those things. Right? Yeah. If he comes up with "Kimosabi" or something like that, then those are the hot words. After that, we had talked. We tried to find bass players, and we had some really good guys that came in and played with us for a little bit and whatnot that were part of it. Mike Oliver actually designed our original logo, Still a Friend. Just didn't want to go that direction, and we were kind of moving quickly at that point, but quickly with knowing that it was going to take a minute to get out in public.
Sure.
So Chuck brought us James, who they knew each other from their college days. They both worked in the Toledo area and stuff, and they were friendly competition stuff, but they knew him. And James was kind of like one of the go-to bass players down in that area there. So when we needed a bass player, James was brought in just to kind of feel it out and see how we were doing. And then, and I may have the order of these things backwards, but I'm pretty sure it's James didn't cue it. And if I do, I apologize, fellas. But it was pretty quick on both of them. So James came in, and he wasn't real committal at the time, right? And so we jammed a little bit. Everybody got along. He brought something nice to it. He's a very, very good musician. Great singer. He brought the real high harmonies for us too, which was nice because Vocals are a big part of her thing. And then after that, I was talking to Q at a rehearsal or a show. We were talking about other projects. Sweet Crystal comes up, and I'm like, well, I got this other thing I'm working on. We're looking for a keyboard player. And he came down, and yeah, he was the last one because he came down, and the solo he did on After Midnight in rehearsal, just learning the tune, is essentially almost note for note what's on the EP as well too. So once those guys were all together, we kind of really started to take off from there. We recorded the first EP, did some press work with stuff with a company called Tinderbox. He did fine for us. It got a lot of college radio play. We did really well for that. And then the funny part is that was right at the beginning of the pandemic. We recorded in 2019. We released it January 20th of 2020. And on the 24th is when they shut everything down.
That's then all. Hey, you're here, but goodbye. Yeah.
And so without any live performances to support it and just the college radio station stuff, several of those songs were on the radio for over a year, right? So, I mean, it really kind of hit home, and then we were like, okay, we have something here, but now we want to continue forward. So in the middle of July of 2020, Chuck had brought in a song called Open Up Your Mind, and we started messing with it and kind of made it out ourselves. He had put it together previously, but it just had never come completely to fruition. And I guess it was 7 years old. Sorry, guys, I'm sorry.
We know what his ringtone is.
Oh, for God's sake. It just has to be loud. I'm old. So anyways, yeah, it's a musician all day long. What are you going to do? He brought it in. We worked with it a little bit, and it kind of resonated with some of the things that we thought were important. And so we actually went in and recorded that during the pandemic. If you ever get a chance to see the video or the teaser for it,
yeah,
we sang that around one mic, but it's masks and stuff like that. And you're so far away, or this kind of thing. And everybody had to make sure they had a COVID test before we came in and all that. And then that one went out, and we promoted it as well. And that one just killed it right away. I mean, it was crazy, the response to that. So coming out of COVID, we went this route, we recorded the latest one. The cool part about the difference from the one previously to this one is the organic nature with how these next tunes arrived. Right? Like I say, the first ones I had most of the music written, actually all but one of them, and one of them I wrote at the end of rehearsal music-wise. Mm-hmm. So we were working with stuff that I had already preconceived. Mm-hmm. What was cool about the new stuff is because we're all writers. So it really came together more organically. So this new set is a lot more diverse than the first one was, right? And it led us in some cool, different directions. And it literally belongs to the band. That's the best part, right? That's the point of being in a band, is to be able to have those collaborations. So,
well, it's fun to me, and Quarter Peep and I were talking about this as we're listening to the songs for the first time, and then as subsequently when we continued listening. How do you describe your sound, your genre? Because to me, I'm listening to the music, and it's taken me back to my college days. I was really enjoying the feeling that, hey, I'm at one of my parties, one of my college parties. This is what we did.
So the chart that we end up on, right, which happened by surprise to us. We always kind of considered ourselves like really classic Midwest rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right. We're all from the area here, right? And so right. we're also probably similar in age, and I don't mean to make anybody older than they really are, but the deal is so we grew up with a certain style of music here in Detroit. We have the Motown influences and all that kind of fun stuff, but rock and roll, like in the 70s and 80s, it's always been it's Detroit Rock City, right? So it's always been one of those places where you can really, pull your champions out, I guess I'll say. And we've been at the forefront of a lot of rock bands, right? As far as fans go, Jake Giles, right? Obviously Seeger, right? Recently, the anybody from Canada, like we were big Rush fans early on.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, there's all kinds of that stuff. So we're big 70s, 80s, 60s, right, rock and roll guys, sure. Right? And me personally, I prefer the bluesier part of that. Scott's more our dyed-in-the-wool hair metal guy, right? Chuck is probably the most current on all of us, right? But he's got a sensibility as well. James is actually a very good jazz guy, right? He's And then Q, believe it or not, is actually a prog guy. You know, so yeah.
He's very diverse in what he plays.
Yeah. So all of that comes together and becomes the Mojo thing, whatever it is, right? Like I say, we call it new Midwest classic rock, I guess would be the answer to it, because it should sound vaguely familiar. The one thing we can't escape from is our influences, and everybody hears a different one when they listen to it.
Yeah.
Right. But there no doubt that these are all people that have influenced us, and that's kind of where our vocabulary comes from. So it should make you feel like you're saying like back in the college period. Sure.
The first one that we've got queued up, "Kiss My Baby Goodnight," it really hit me hard when I first heard it, because that's a lot of what I listen to.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed it. Tell me a little bit about the background for this song.
So this one, the main riff, which is just a simple little thing, right? You know, and then the chords in the song, right, were something I was messing with Scott with while everybody's setting up. And this is a lot of our songs get written this way while we're setting up and everybody's kind of coming together and getting squared away for rehearsal. Somebody will jam something out or be playing something. The other guys will just jump in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's no words have to be spoken. It's not that kind of deal. We'll just kind of feel it out and let it find its equilibrium. And then at a certain point, the entire band's in there. And as soon as we're all in there, right, then immediately Chuck is phonetically sounding stuff out, working on melodies and whatnot. And we're trying to refine as we go. So it's actually a pretty quick process. And this one was definitely that way. I was kind of digging like a ZZ Top-ish kind of thing because that's in there. And then the middle section, actually, the breakdown that sounds a little Zeppelin-y.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. That, believe it or not, came from James. He had the cool riff, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's really cool because it gives you that change of pace, which I like. And then the intro was Mark.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, everybody played an integral part all the way through it. And the cool part for this one for me is I just get to rail away over and over and over. I solo through 80% of the song. What's funny is I wasn't going to do that, and then Mark actually pinned me. He goes, dude, more solos in there when we were in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's kind of the way we did it live anyways, because we actually started playing it live before we recorded it, because that's really where you tighten the song up anyways, is in front of an audience, right? Because that fear does an amazing thing for you. You know?
Well, and you figure out if they're really going to.
That's one of those organic songs for sure. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's give this one a listen. "Kiss My Baby Goodnight" from Second Hand Mojo.
Yoo-hoo!
Mojo, it's not going to be a good night. And I'll tell you what's really interesting. And this is, I think, one of the things I love about doing this podcast as much as anything else is when you hear the stories behind the music. And you could hear all of those influences. You know, as we're listening to that now, hearing you talk about that, the Led Zeppelin's there, the ZZ Top is there. And I love the way the song goes full circle. You know, you start out with that keyboard riff, you end with that keyboard riff. And that just, I love that. It's a great song. Makes me feel good.
That's awesome. That's actually that's the goal. You'll find that we don't really do we don't do the political stuff. We don't do the questionable stuff or whatnot. We try to keep it fairly positive as a rule, right? So you won't hear us do graphic things or whatnot.
Sure.
And it's not that we steer away from it. It's just people come to see it, right? They're spending money. It should be an escape of some sort, right?
Absolutely.
So it's not cheap. I mean, it's expensive. People work hard for their money, and so you want them to have that kind of experience. And or if you buy it, or if you listen, or if you take the time, we want you to feel like you say, like it's a happy thing, right? So for sure,
You take us back to a pleasant time. You know, you take us back to something that was a lot more simple than it might be today, and it feels good. And this is where we had our enjoyment. That's why we love music so much.
that's very nice. I appreciate that. That's it's fun for us too. I'm not going to lie, right? So especially Q because he gets his. It's funny the things you mentioned, who do we sound like or whatnot. People say, and it's different to everybody. That's the cool part about music. It's very subjective.
Yes.
It's very personal, right? For me, it's my cataloging system for things that have happened, right? I'm like, oh, that's right, this song this year. That's how I know, what year the kids were born or whatever, So,
Oh yeah.
So anyway, the influences and stuff like that. Yeah, it's funny what people hear though. We get some of the weirdest combinations you've ever heard, right? We've gotten after live shows, we've gotten, oh, you're a little like Steely Dan, but also like REO Speedway. I'm like, oh, okay. Right. The funniest one that I've heard so far that I tell everyone on when we do press night, everyone gets this one is that you guys sound just like Huey Lewis in the News and Motley Crue. and funny part, it was one of the guys at Humble Pie that said that.
No kidding. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, like you say, it's up for interpretation, and if that's what they want, terrific.
Yeah, as long as they're happy and they're enjoying themselves, then more power to it, right? So
I found it really interesting when you were talking before we went into the song about how so many of your songs have been written around the setup. You're getting ready for rehearsal. Is that really kind of the norm for how you guys put together your music?
it comes in a lot of different directions. I write independently as well, right? But when I write it to a point, and then the reason to be in a band for me personally, and the guys may have different opinions, but I think like Chuck and I know, especially we both feel this way, is I can take the song and I can run it beginning to end here, and I can give you everything in hand and see it, right? It stays the same way I wrote it on the couch, right? Unless you get other people's input or whatnot.
Yeah.
And the cool part is I play with good enough musicians, right? Better musicians than I am, right? And that makes it grow. It goes someplace where maybe I didn't consider or never heard in my head. And it's always breathtaking to me when they hit something, you go, oh, that's the right answer to me too, right? That I never considered. And I love that part of it. That's the point of being in a band, right? It's the camaraderie, and it's the ability to take my little nugget here and move it over here, right? And then we're great, which is really all we're doing as well, right? Because the reason the band's name's Second Hand Mojo, we're not inventing the wheel in any way, shape, or form, right? This stuff has been done in some shape or form, right? We've just picked it up from here. We found it on the ground. Right now it's ours, it's second hand. So we're taking that mojo, we're moving in our direction a little bit, where you drop it off and hope the next guy does. Yeah. Right? So that's one of the reasons the band's called Second Hand Mojo, actually. So
cool.
I like that a lot. That brings a great deal of depth to what it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just makes more sense to me. And again, classic rock, it sounds familiar. There's a reason for that, right? It does sound familiar, right? What it does is it opens doors for us. What's really surprising to me is the younger people. And if I sit and think about it, it makes sense because those younger people, their parents are probably my age, right? So they grew up in a household with that stuff. But it always surprises me the arc of the demographic. It's always interesting. So we're definitely more males like us than females do, right? So because you know what, we're not very pretty. Just Chuck.
Yeah, I worried an awful lot when we said we were going to start taking this to video, what people were going to think. So I'm
Right.
with you there, totally.
Yeah, I've got a face for radio. I get it.
That's why I'm always going behind the microphone. That's it.
Yeah.
Next one that we've got queued up here is Sister Surrender. This is another one that really, really enjoyed the song. Tell us a little bit about it.
So this is one that Chuck brought in almost in its entirety, right?
Mhm.
So when these things happen, typically we'll play through it based on the chord progressions and things he's asked for, and he kind of has he might even have a little bit of a riff or something, like that. And so we'll kind of take that, feel it out, and we'll if you will, mojoize it, right, or give it the mojo treatment. This one got mojo kind of hard because the original format of it, the shape and the arrangement is pretty close, right? But the parts and the way it's played and some of the other stuff that's done, most of that was done in rehearsal. Some of the stuff I did when we were in the studio, right? This one's got kind of a little Duran Duranish thing, right? It's got almost like a Motown-y kind of bass part, right? Just the kind of way we lead it off with the bass. It's got a Gone in 60 Seconds vibe. I also kind of put like the 70s cop show thing in there if I was thinking about it. That's what I heard in my head when we were playing it. And so the cool part is just like when I write a song and bring it in, everybody kind of gets to run with it. All the guys in the band are good about that, right? We'll put it out there and see what happens to it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, great too. It's not the end of the world because we're not saying it's a bad song. It just may not be for us, right? In this case here, this was fun and a little bit of a departure from the other stuff that we've done. Because if you listen to Kiss My Baby Goodnight like we just did, and you listen to the first EP, those are obviously similar, related kind of thing, right? This one is a bit more of a departure, but if you listen to it, really look at it like the guitar riff is a Robin Trowery kind of thing, right? The solo, the guitar solo is just straight standard blues, right? And so everything else is what gives it flavor. And then the fun part about doing the vocals in there, and then like the na-nas, I added the na-nas. That's Tom Petty. It's straight ripped off from Tom Petty, no way around it, right? The vibe, the idea, right? You know what I mean? So, and then
how can you guys possibly go wrong with all of these influences? You're pulling together everything that was good about the music that we listened to.
Yep, I think so too. So it leads us where we got to go. That's the cool part. But this is one that Chuck, like I say, brought to us essentially in its entirety when we just added the flavors and not really arrangement, added the flavors, added some little tiny pieces. But really, in all honesty, this one existed right before we got our hands on it. So,
well, let's give this one a listen. Sister Surrender from Second Hand Mojo.
I'm just gonna keep dancing. Don't worry about me.
You know, it's interesting to me that you mentioned a little bit of the Duran Duran sound
Yes.
in there. As I'm listening to that song, I'm picturing the style Duran Duran videos that we used to have on MTV back in the
Yeah.
80s. And thinking, wow, that fits so well for that. That's another one of those just really feels good songs.
It's very cool. It's very cinematic. The story's good. That one's I tell people it's a song in 3 acts, right? So if you notice the beginning, she's Sister Mysterious because he doesn't know who she is. She's innocent.
Yep.
The middle, she's Sister Evil. That's when she's going to commit the act, right? And in the end, she's Sister Surrender, and that's kind of where they're driving off into the sunset. So
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I like the arc of it. So all that stuff works out. There's so much to 3 minutes that you can really get out. That's what I love about music. No, honestly, it's to me it's very visual, anyways, right? But and you get to pay homage to all your favorite people. That solo at the end there is it's a little Mike Campbell. It's a little Leonard Skinner, right? There's a little Thundergate special, and there's also some Buddy Guy in there. So those are fun to put those little things together. So
I just love the way it all comes together. It's so we talked a little bit when we were getting started before we really started the interview here. Quarter Peak is a huge fan of this last one that we've got queued up, Good Vibes. And you asked us, have we seen the video? The video is just phenomenal. Quarter Peak, you were asking a little bit about this as well.
If you watch the video, you're just like, where is this place? I'm thinking it's a bar somewhere. Like, I want to go there. It was just I was so happy and vibey, and then just all the decorations. I'm like, where's this at? So the question is, where did this video take place?
So it's actually out in Onstead, Michigan, right? Not far from Brooklyn there. And it's my cousin Dave and his wife Leslie's house. And that building that we're in is a big pole barn that used to be a welding shop. And so all those facades, like the movie theater we're playing in front of, the Texaco station, the other stuff that you see in there, him and his kids built those.
All right.
So like the Texaco station is literally like where the car stuff or the motorcycles go and all that. And then the diner one, there's a pool table in there. That's where we usually put the food when we have the family parties out there. So they do these great family parties, and we have a very large family. And so the idea behind it was that it's a feel good song. And the whole point is it's about a party. You hear it from far, you show up, and then you're part of the deal, right? And so this one, it just called for that. My cousin had been asking me to have us play out there for some time. So we went about it, right? We invited friends and family and our individual families. As a matter of fact, James, the bass player, his son is one of the kids in the beginning there. The kid with the blonde hair, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So the other one is my nephew, right? Then and his buddy, right? And so the girls that are dancing, those are all my cousins and like Chuck's wife.
All right.
My aunts and uncles are in it. My cousins are in it. A bunch of people came from Miller City, Ohio, that see us that have known Chuck for forever. So it's like building a bigger family, which is the whole point behind the Mojo, anyways.
Yes.
It is building that cool family, and it's neat because we've spent a ton of time with all these people collectively, right? And it just was so much fun. It was a very long weekend. Right? I think I told you it was 17 hours to set it up. Wow. We shot for a good 4 or 5 hours. Then we partied for several hours, and it was 17 hours to tear it down. So
see, that's the part that should have been in the video too.
There's a time lapse video out there of it. I think it's on our TikTok, or it might be on Instagram or something like that. That Joe, our sound guy, actually took a time lapse. You can see my kids running back and forth, putting up lights, boom down.
Sure.
I mean, it was insane. That's a lot of gear. It was
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was a 27-foot trailer full of lights and sound, and then we actually rented a stage for that one, and so that was a 24-foot by 24 stage. Just a lot of fun. We had a blast, and it couldn't have been a more fun day if we tried. And then in the end, we premiered it at a movie theater in Westland.
All right.
Yeah, we actually rented a movie theater and did a premiere for it. It was so much, and everybody got to come, and we're trying to have fun. At this point here, it's about the experiences because Lord knows there's no money in this. But it's about those, and all of us guys have been around, right, sure, and done stuff and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So it's the oddball experience that's as much fun as anything to us, right? And so this is a chance to do some of that stuff.
Well, and this song really it suits. And when you watch the video, and folks, I encourage you, get on YouTube, look them up, check out this video. It's absolutely awesome. But this song epitomizes the good vibe. I mean, it's everything that was in that was a lot of fun.
This one was started by Q, the Jackson Brown thing.
Yeah,
You heard the big green, right? You know, he was messing with that, and then we just took off from there. And he had a couple of changes that he wanted there, and then we just mojoized and off we go. And so this is another one that was just completely organic. So.
All right. Well, let's give this one a listen. When we come back, we want to have you tell everybody where they can get in touch with you, and let's talk about that a little bit. But we're on this vibe. Let's get some good vibes from Second Hand Mojo. We're with Vern Springer from Second Hand Mojo, and Vern, I'm listening to that, and it's just like I told you earlier. I was back in the Psycho House at my senior year of college at Central Michigan on Lansing Street, dancing in the living room with all my buds. You know, it's just that's how that feels, and I hope that's what you're shooting for because you nailed it.
That's 100% true. Again, the song's about walking up on a party, not knowing what's coming up, and then being part of the party, and just everybody being a part of it, right? And I may not phrase it correctly, but that's kind of the interpretation of what Chuck told me was. Right? But there's some cool, fun stuff. That was a lot of fun to do. Those are real horns in there too, by the way.
I wondered about that.
Yeah. So
I heard that, and I said, okay, is that Q playing that, or those are horns that are going there?
originally when we were working it out, I knew I wanted horns in there, and Q did it with a patch and all. It was very similar. And then my son, who's also a musician, he does electronic music. Well, one of the guys that it's done a couple shows with, his name is Kevin. I actually met him at one of the shows. He goes by Star Fox. So, anyways, but Kevin was a horn player that does the electronic music, plays the horns with it, right? And
That's
so when
cool.
and he's a trumpet player and a sax player, right? And so I go, hey, look, I'm looking for these. And so, he did the horns. There are, gee whiz, I think there's 12 parts. The horn section is 12 parts, and then I had him add a piccolo trumpet at the end to kind of give it the Beatley thing, right?
Yeah.
And so the vocal part in there, well, first of all, that breakdown section, not Chuck, but James came up with. He's our breakdown guy, I think. So anyways, so he had that. The vocal part, we actually do that live that way. And so it's a little Beach Boys kind of in there. And then when you get these horns going, it's just a lot of fun. I will tell you the one behind the scenes that didn't work out for the video. The local high school in Onstead, their marching band was going to come in and do that with us, like Tusk,
Oh,
And
yeah.
at the last minute, the very last minute,
Couldn't happen.
yeah, he was so bummed. It would have been fantastic to have the Mojo marching band. That'd been
Oh, no
fantastic.
doubt. No,
It
well,
was going to be a surprise too to the people there. We were just going to have them come walking into the building.
well,
So at the last minute, it fell through.
that's for Good Vibes Part 2.
Yeah,
Part
right.
two.
So, yeah. I mean, it didn't dampen the mood by any means. We had so much fun. Yeah, there was a lot of it was an ice cream social afterwards. What I'm saying is that we sat around and we exchanged our best wishes for the others.
Absolutely. Hey, Vern, how do folks find Secondhand Mojo? We want to come out and see you guys playing. What's our best way to find out what's happening?
So there's a couple of things, right? One is we have a website which is secondhandmojo.com. Right, you'll see like the latest videos, a lot of times the latest pictures. There's a tour schedule that's usually up to date in there, right? And if it isn't at that point, it will be soon. On all the streaming platforms and all that fun stuff that exist out there, we're on all of those. We have our YouTube channel, right? We have Facebook, Instagram, all that, and all those announcements are on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff too. So we actually have a gal who does that for us now. She's the one. Did you see any of the artwork for the stuff with like the old school ad work where we have
Yeah.
the dentist one? Did you see that one?
Yes.
Yeah. So I asked her to put that together. I said this is kind of the idea, and she came up with that. There's another one that's going to be coming out soon too, where it's a nurse and she's holding out a Mojo beer. We have our own beer. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No.
No.
We need to know.
Yeah. So the local, so you can get it at a lot of our shows. But the
Okay.
local brewery here brewed a Good Vibes beer for us. In a drunken conversation at my dinner table, I was sitting with my neighbor across the street, and he's the guy I go to concerts with. He's similar musical styles. He's just not a musician, right? And so we're talking, and I think it was Blackberry Smoke had just released their beer. So in my arrogant drunkenness, right? I'm like, hey, we should have our own beer. Why don't we have our own beer? And he goes, I do know some brewers, and I'm like, okay, well then get on it. You can be the beer consigliere.
There you go.
And so within 3 months, the beer was out.
Wow. Well, we've got to get down there and see it because I need some of that beer.
Canton Brewers, it is delicious. We go through it. They go through it faster than they can replace it.
Oh, fantastic!
We've done really well. Canton Brewworks. It's in Canton, Michigan. Yep, and it's called Good. The name of the beer is actually called Good Vibes.
It's fantastic. We're going to be checking that out. There's no
You
question.
should let us know. That's right across the street from where we rehearse, right? Little kind of kitty corner. And it's literally 1 mile from where I'm sitting right here. That's my home brewery. That's where I go to do my thing. So
well, we'll be all over.
We've actually played there a couple times to warm up for other shows we do. It's a little smaller place, so we can invite people in and just kind of do a fun thing. They have bands there and whatnot. Great people. Jeff, the guy who owns the place, has been instrumental in making sure that we have our beer and all that stuff. That's good too. So
fantastic. Well, that's a nice little sidelight there as well.
Yeah, it was crazy.
This has been a lot of fun tonight. I've absolutely loved, and I know our listeners are going to as well, the bringing together of all of these different sounds. It's beautiful. The songs are so much fun, and thank you so much for bringing this to us tonight.
I appreciate it. It was a great talk today. I'm glad to have it, and you learned in the pre-interview we can talk all day.
We can do that.
You're gonna have to edit most of it out because a lot of it's just nonsense.
No, we're
out of my
not
head.
editing nothing.
Yeah.
This is how we like it. Gordon, who
Perfect.
do we have coming up on the
Yeah.
next show?
So we have Kaylin Pace.
We met Kaylin this past summer at the St. Clair Hoedown, and looking forward to having her on here. Hey, I think that's a wrap for tonight's show. I want to thank one more time our special guest, Vern Springer from Second Hand Mojo. Vern, thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All you out there listening, please give us a follow. We're on Spotify and any platform where you're getting your podcast these days. We want you to get in touch with us too. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know where we can find more bands like Second Hand Mojo. When we can find some fun guys to talk to like Vern, you can drop us an email at vehiclecitysound@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us vehiclecitysound.com. That's our website. Love hearing from you. Appreciate you listening to the show. Thanks again to Second Hand Mojo, Vern Springer. Everybody, be good.
Happy Halloween.
See you guys.